That's Fox Rocks on Fox News.
News Talk Radio WOBM-AM 1160 and 1310 presents Townsquare Tonight. Your chance to speak with Jersey Shore newsmakers about the issues that affect you. Call 732-505-1160. Now from WOBM News, Townsquare Tonight on News Talk Radio WOBM-AM 1160, 1310 and WOBMAM.com.
It's the one discussion we would hope not to have every year at this time, but it's the most necessary one, and we hope you'll be a part of it. 4 years gone since Sandy altered the shore's physical, economic, environmental, and social landscapes, and the issues that raged through the first 3 anniversaries really haven't abated. Displaced families, claim fraud, contractor fraud, federal disbursements, state intervention, flood zones, houses on stilts, and a much greater number of houses that won't be rebuilt or are simply abandoned. What is your situation? Sandy survivor, tell us about it. 732-505-1160. Here to listen and respond tonight are George Casimos of Seaside Park of Stop FEMA Now. He spotted slipshod bureaucracy right at the outset, keeping up the chatter at stopfemanow.com. And also Joe Mangino of the New Jersey Organizing Project, which has advocated for strapped property owners and kept them informed throughout the ordeal and helped them get back into their houses. They're at newjerseyop.org. Gentlemen, thank you for coming in. The first real question that I have to throw to both of you, because I know that you've both been integrally involved in the evolution of this thing. What could we really have expected by this point in time? Realistically, what could we have expected based on the history of what happened after Katrina and subsequent disasters leading up to Superstorm Sandy? Is there any real way of setting a realistic timetable or benchmark?
I think initially after the storm, in my mind, I had a belief that this was a 10-year project. However, what I didn't anticipate was the frustration along the way and how difficult every step was going to be and how many obstacles were thrown in there. That's what I thought.
What obstacles showed up that you didn't expect? We all expect certain ones.
The battle with the insurance companies to get our money that we were rightfully owed from the start. The state's rebuilding program that was an absolute nightmare, not only for me, but for thousands of other people to get into and to stay into, because the incompetence was on a scale I've never seen and have never encountered. Those were 2 huge steps. And then just the day-to-day struggles for these families to try and live their life while rebuilding their life. It was an absolute nightmare.
And what, you seen any lights at the end of this tunnel? Have you seen any improvement in any of those aspects?
There were no, we had to force the issue every time. For example, there was no rental assistance available. We had to fight to get rental assistance. We had to battle the state to show more transparency on what was going on, what was happening, where's the money, where can we go to get real answers? So nothing was easy, and we had to fight every step of the way.
What Joe is basically saying, and I want to go on top of that, is FEMA came in here like this is the first time there's ever been a flood in America. And this has happened, and the same thing, by the way, is happening in Louisiana and North and South Carolina and Florida. I just came back from Louisiana. So what's happening is...
So this scenario is being repeated?
It's the same thing. This exact same scenario is happening in Louisiana as we speak right now.
So we must assume that it also happened after Katrina.
Yeah, Katrina was different. They just cut checks and gave people checks, and they just wanted to get out. But since Katrina till right now in Louisiana, by the way, Louisiana, there's tens of thousands of people right now sleeping in tents. So FEMA acts like this is the first time they've ever made a mistake, there's ever been a flood. And for instance, the people that rebuilt their homes real quick, like myself, found out after we're almost done, I'm putting cabinets back in my home, and then they say, hey, by the way, your flood insurance is going to $30,000 a year, and you're required to raise your home. If you told me that originally, I'd have knocked it down. I'd have been done. I didn't ever even started this group. I'd have been done. They're doing the same thing to the people in Louisiana right now. Rentals assistance is for 2 or 3 months. This is a 10-year project. FEMA itself, our senators and our mayors, everybody knows this is a 5-10-year project. Why is rental assistance for 3 months, 4 months, and they renew it? What's going on? Right now, FEMA is spending $100,000 a trailer for somebody to live in there for 3 or 4 months down in Louisiana. What's going on? Who is in control at FEMA? There's no one. Okay? All we want is a guideline. Do this, this, and this will happen. And no one knows. When our mayors and even our senators and congressmen don't know what's going on and FEMA does not give us the information we need to correctly rebuild and keeps changing the rules, including HUD, that's a very big problem.
When you talk about FEMA, you're talking about an agency with a rotating group of people in it. The ones they send out are pretty much like EMTs. They're going out on a call.
Yeah, but there's 2 different parts of FEMA, right? There's the FEMA that comes in and just helps people right after the flood, helps. But even there, they failed in Louisiana, because they had to get the Cajun Navy. A bunch of people, independent people, got their own boats and started saving people that are on top of their roofs. FEMA couldn't even do that. And, I don't want to sound like I'm bashing FEMA, but what are they there for? It's the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and they're the biggest disaster of all.
What would your impetus to start your group stemmed out of a specific instance, right?
Yeah, it was. I'm almost done. I'm putting cabinets in my home, and my neighbor comes next door to me and he says, "George, by the way, our flood insurance is going to $30,000 a year." And I said, "This has got to be, it's a mistake. Somebody gets $1 million water bill or something. It's crazy." And nobody can give me an answer for well over a month. I'm a writer. I wrote a letter to the senators, congressmen, mayors, everybody, and nobody can give us an answer.
So is this before or after the flood maps, even the preliminary flood maps were issued?
That's right after the preliminary flood maps, around January-ish.
Right, so you went to those sessions.
Absolutely.
And you knew that you were in a flood zone.
Yes.
But still you didn't expect your flood insurance to go up.
You get into a car accident and your car insurance goes up 10%. I was paying $1,000 a year. If it went up to $1,500 or $2,000 a year, I understand. I have a big claim. But then the other part of it is our claims. And, people whose homes were actually pushed off their foundation into the bay, a 2,000 square foot home, they got $30,000 and they have a $250,000 policy. 4 years later, today, 4 years after Superstorm Sandy, people are still waiting for a fair claim. 20,000 people reopened up their claim, unprecedented in the history of insurance, let alone flood insurance, that American citizens that had flood insurance, not a handout, that paid flood insurance for years, and our federal government runs a flood insurance program, and we're still waiting to get paid. It is a shame. Anybody who's out there who's listening, it is a shame what our federal government has done to policyholders. We are not welfare recipients. We paid for flood insurance, and we want to get paid for a fair claim, and our government has, forget about let us down. They've been fraudulent. They've been on 60 Minutes and Frontline, proven fraud. As a matter of fact, there's an attorney out of Washington, D.C., from Katrina. It took him 10 years. He proved fraud in a court of law that FEMA and the National Flood Insurance Program were fraudulent, and FEMA keeps spending money. This attorney's been in the hole for over $2 million, and now FEMA, fighting it, is taking it to the Supreme Court. It's fraud, but they're still fighting it.
Are you suggesting collusion here with the insurance companies?
I mean, you got to watch the 60 Minutes report. You got to watch, that's what they're suggesting, not me. I mean, they changed an engineer's report out of 300 reports that the engineer put out. Somebody fraudulently changed 296 of them, and they were different insurance companies, different engineering, different other, it wasn't one person. It was different groups behind the scenes, all controlled by one group. When I say FEMA, I mean FEMA is controls the National Flood Insurance Program, right. And that is the program that is. And here's the great thing: the head of the National Flood Insurance Program on 60 Minutes said they had known about fraud for over a year. Known about the fraud for over a year. Do you know how many people went to jail? 0.
I'm going to guess none.
Do you know how many people got fired?
None.
0. The gentleman, Kaiserman, who was on 60 Minutes, who ran the National Flood Insurance Program, you know what happened to him? He left and he went to the Red Cross, and he basically got a promotion. So nobody went to jail, nobody was fraudulent, and we still have 20,000 people, that middle-class Americans that own their own homes, that paid flood insurance, that are still waiting to get paid a fair claim. And to this day, people are getting 20 or 30 cents on the dollar, and they're going to lose their homes, and we all vote.
And I was just telling George a few minutes ago, just this week, I got my check from FEMA. I reopened my claim. And here we are, almost 4 years later, I'm finally getting... So the money I got this week had a lot more value a few years ago. I may have made different decisions. And that goes for everybody that was affected. If you only got, pennies on the dollar, you made decisions based on what you got. You may have lost your home. Your family may have dissolved.
A lot happens in 4 years.
Right, exactly. And why should I have to wait almost 4 years?
I have a question. Joe's been out of his house for 4 years. In New Jersey, $1,500 a month rent is a very low rent. We'll just call it $1,500. In 4 years, you know what Joe spent in rent and paying his mortgage? Forget it, he's paying his mortgage, insurance. And by the way, Doug Quinn, who's one of our members, Doug Quinn, whose home is nothing but earth, he knocked his home down, he still is required to pay $3,000 a year on a vacant dirt lot of flood insurance. Crazy rules that we have here. But Joe, 4 years out of his home, you know what he's paid for rent because our flood insurance program is slow? $70,000 he paid in rent waiting for our government to pay him a fair claim.
Did they even come close to that sort of a layout?
No.
And so you're paying this, you're working full-time, you're with the New Jersey Organizing Project,
Correct.
You're lobbying in Trenton, you're lobbying in Washington. And I know, George, you've done the same thing. So what keeps you going? Let me just ask you that. What's your driving for? What keeps you from just throwing up your hands and saying, okay, you know what, I'm done?
My neighbor Jack next door, I'm sorry, Joe, my neighbor Jack next door who came to me, Jack actually had a bigger house than I did, and I got 3 times as much in flood insurance than he did. You know what happened to Jack? Jack lost his house because our federal government did not pay him. He's a senior citizen. That was his retirement, and he lost his house. And I don't want people still in New Jersey still fighting, but I don't want our good Americans in Louisiana and North Carolina to go through the same thing. Our government is broken. FEMA is broken, and it's got to get fixed. There are thousands of people still sleeping on the ground in Louisiana, and there's no media coverage, and FEMA has basically walked away from that. That is shameful.
We're speaking tonight with Joe Mangino from the New Jersey Organizing Project and George Costinos, Stop FEMA Now. We're rehashing where we are 4 years after Sandy. We'd like to hear your story, too, at 732-505-1160. We're hearing some pretty shocking facts and figures here, and both of these men do a great deal of documentation, so they're not shooting from the hip. Now, George, you said we vote, and we have an election coming up. Our assembly people are up for election, and not our congressmen are up for election. Now, to be fair, we've had 2 that have fought tooth and nail against 436 other guys for a piece of what's going on here. What's been your experience with Frank Pallone and with Tom McCarthy?
Well, I mean, look, both of them are on our side. Again, they're only 2 of almost 500. I mean, Congressman MacArthur, he actually called for a federal investigation.
He called for Fugate's resignation
and for Fugate to be let go.
Oh, by the way, he's still there, right?
Yeah. And word on the street is he might be get promoted to Department of Homeland Security Director. So I mean, it's just insane. But look, Congressman MacArthur just went out on a limb, and really, I would expect that every New Jersey congressman go out on a limb, and senator go out on a limb. The New Yorkers also. I was there when Representative King actually said Congressman MacArthur went rogue.
Mm-hmm.
That's shameful. That Peter King, the congressman, is that his name?
Yeah, Peter
King.
Yeah.
I was there in Washington, D.C. with members from the New York delegation from Stop FEMA Now that came there, and Peter King basically said that Congressman MacArthur went rogue in calling for Fugate's resignation, which is shameful. If I was a New York City resident, I would not vote for Peter King because he's not
Well, especially knowing that he had the same difficulties we had.
Absolutely. Obviously, I don't know if he's seen 60 Minutes or Frontline, but FEMA's been fraudulent. And they've been fraudulent, not just for the last 4 years, for over a decade they've been fraudulent. And Fugate needs to go. Not only Fugate, that whole group needs to go. Flood insurance is still a major issue, but that's later on. But the rebuilding after storms, Sandy here and all the other storms across the country, and there's a bunch of little storms also, people are just abandoned.
You mentioned also, and I'd like to throw this to both of you, that you're not seeing the flood anymore in mass media. You're not seeing nightly reports of, updates on what's going on down there. Same thing happened to us. How that's got to be a big deterrent. It's got to be a big obstacle in getting anything done when the country just has moved on. And we kind of learned that here, but there's so many more people down there now who are in trouble than we were.
I'm sorry, Joe. They've named, when I was down in Louisiana, I met Bo Dukes from the Dukes of Hazzard, John Schneider. And they had a concert there, and John Snyder came out, and he actually wrote a song. It's called the Three Finger Salute to FEMA, okay? And it's a great song, and one of these days we're going to get it out there. They've forgotten it. He actually named it, they've named it the Forgotten Storm. They got 5 times the amount of rain of Katrina down there. 5 times the amount of rain of Katrina down there. No one there. Did you even know? And I know you're up to date with your stuff. Did you even know that there's tens of thousands of people?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Why was there a need for the Cajun Navy? There's a Cajun Navy and a Cajun Army. People coming out. Remember Sandy Warriors, Joan DeLuca?
Uh-huh.
There's thousands of people like that helping people because our government is not out there helping them. Donald Trump went down there. It was great. We appreciate it. Where was Hillary Clinton? Obama went there for a minute. They should go back again. You want to campaign for people there and have them donate money there. We're spending $1 billion, over $1 billion on a presidential election, and Americans are sleeping on the floor tonight.
Yeah.
Military vets. There's a military vet, Air Force vet, sleeping in a car in a Kmart parking lot in Southeast Louisiana. Somebody should be embarrassed. Somebody should be embarrassed. Obama came here with Christie, and they hugged it out, and they forgot about Sandy victims, and they're doing the same for all other people that are flood survivors right now. It is shameful.
Now, George, I want to bring up something that you haven't brought up yet, and that is that you've got a donation drive going on for the victims in Louisiana. Tell us a little about what you're doing there.
Yeah, I was down in Louisiana a few weeks ago, and we're going to go back down again, and we got to give them stuff. We all have, I want everybody to clean out their closets, anything you have, clothes, shoes, kids' clothes, kids' shoes, diapers, whatever you have. I don't care if it's a bag full or a carload, bring it to, contact us at stopfemanow.com or stopfemanow@gmail, and we'll get it to the folks in Louisiana. They need it. They need it because they've been forgotten, but we didn't forget them here in New Jersey.
George Casimos of Stop FEMA Now and Joe Mangino of the New Jersey Organizing Project. Joe will be among the people appearing before an assembly panel tomorrow, and we're going to find out a little bit about what they're going to be discussing there because it's Superstorm related. We're going to do that as soon as we return from this brief break, so please stay with us and don't forget to give us a call. We want to hear your story too. 732-505-1160. We'll be right back.
Hiring people is probably the worst part of my job. It's such a hassle, the searching, the sorting through resumes. Most people don't have the right experience.
We started using ZipRecruiter about 3 months ago. Right from the start, you could tell it was going to make hiring a lot easier. One click and my job was posted to 100+ job boards, all the top sites.
All of the candidates came to my dashboard, and it's easy to compare them. Thumbs up if I liked them, thumbs down if I didn't. No emails and attachments, printing up docs, phone calls, none of that.
And I couldn't believe the number of great applicants we got. I had the person we needed within 1 week. I don't know how we hired before ZipRecruiter.
Whether you're looking to fill one position or 20, find the best candidates with ZipRecruiter, where your job is just 1 click away from 100+ job sites. ZipRecruiter, the fastest way to hire. And right now you can try ZipRecruiter free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/new job. That's ZipRecruiter.com/new job. ZipRecruiter.com/new job.
Are you currently retired or planning to retire in the next 5 years? Lou Scatigna here, certified financial planner, president of AFM Investments, and host of The Financial Physician, heard every Friday right here on WOBM-FM. I would like to invite you to join me for a complimentary retirement review. Safe investments like CDs pay virtually nothing, and the stock market has become a risky casino, but there are ways to achieve reasonable returns on your money without taking on big risks. Let me show you how. I will determine your net worth, find ways to maximize your income, and minimize your taxes. We will discuss estate planning and strategies to protect you from nursing home costs. Not retired yet, but have a 401k? Come in for a 401k evaluation, and I will give you specific suggestions on how you should be invested during these crazy times. As a bonus, you will receive a signed copy of my popular book, The Financial Physician. Make your appointment today by calling 732-905-8100. That's 732-905-8100. Securities transactions through Lee Baldwin & Company, member FINRA and SIPC, registered investment advisory services through Agentis Advisors.
Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Klimchak.
We'll take 2 peanut brittles. Raising money for school?
No, picking on your kid at school.
What? Our Henry?
I'm the class bully.
Well, forget the peanut brittle.
Look, I'm not gonna pull any punches. Get it? But every day, I start fights with your kid on the playground.
But you...
I take his lunch money.
Honey, what do we do?
What do we do?
Hey, I've got some answers. It's McGruff, the crime dog.
Bullies don't just walk up and introduce themselves. When kids worry about bullying, you have to read the clues. They may not want to go to school. Their grades may drop.
Our Henry hasn't mentioned a bully.
That's another thing. Kids don't want to talk about it.
I don't mean to twist your arm. Sorry. But you might want to get involved.
Well...
Oops, late for lunch. Gotta trip a kid with his tray.
How do you stop bullies? Well, with words to your kids, school administrators, other concerned parents, and by going to McGruff.org.
A message from the U.S. Department of Justice, Crime Prevention Coalition of America, National Crime Prevention Council, and the Ad Council.
Be a part of the conversation. Call now, 732-505-1160. Townsquare Tonight. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160, 1310, and WOBMAM.com.
It's really become the anniversary program. This is the only one that we've done consistently every year. And I'm sorry that we are, to be honest with you, but it's the most necessary one. 4 years since Sandy. With us tonight, along with you in the town square, are George Casimos of Stop FEMA Now and Joe Mangino of the New Jersey Organizing Project, serving South Jersey and the Shore with community solutions. Joe and Sandy survivors are going to be in front of the State Assembly Committee tomorrow about regulatory oversight. This sounds kind of involved. What are you doing?
We are going to give testimony tomorrow on many issues related to Sandy. For example, my role is, are we prepared for the next storm? And that's what I'm going to tackle when I speak with them. We have other members that are going to...
You just stole one of my questions.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay. That's all
yeah,
right.
so we have other members that are going to testify about foreclosures, contractor accountability, and the need to extend rental assistance, all the issues that we have gone up against, we have faced the last 4 years. We have someone that's going to testify and share their experiences and their hardships.
I want to get back to this, but I just want to ask you about that one thing. You said contractor accountability, and we've seen dozens, literally dozens of contractors charged since 2014. But there are also supposed victims, people living in other states, people living in other counties, who counted this as a secondary home and took the money and were caught. Now they're charged too. Isn't there really doesn't this blade cut both ways? I mean, there's got to be a warning for people who are under the radar right now.
The people who are fraudulent, they're going to get caught eventually. Look, if you lied and you said this was your primary home,
I'm just saying you can't. I mean, I'm no fan of unscrupulous contractors. A lot of carpetbaggers came in, but I'm also not a fan of people who are ripping off the system.
Right.
But as limited as the money is, to dig into that like it's some sort of gigantic cash cow to just grab.
Yeah, but see, those people will get taken care of by our government. I'm sure our government. What about the people that had a $150,000 REM grant? There's a gentleman by the name of John Ungrady. He's a senior citizen. He's a Vietnam vet. Mm-hmm. He literally took his $150,000 and gave it to a contractor over 3 years ago, and the DCA has done nothing about that. That's a very big problem. I have a problem. I had a problem with a contractor, and I filed a complaint with the DCA. I called the DCA. Sam Vivitone, the director of the REM program, introduced me personally to somebody from the DCA, and they did nothing. They finally did something about a week ago after I started complaining to everybody. Now, I've reached out to Senator Hopsteffel's office and Senator Beck's office, and they're trying to set up a meeting with the DCA so they can come down and meet with us and basically say, so we can let them know what the issues are, because we don't feel they've gotten 3 or 4 contractors, but there are many, many more contractors that have really screwed us and really screwed part of the REM program, and the state needs to get involved and not protect the contractors, but protect the citizens, especially REM grant holders. I mean, that's a shame.
Right, because once they get ripped off by a contractor, their whole rebuilding process stops, and they have no idea when it's going to start again. It most likely won't start until criminal charges are filed against that contractor. So that could be 6, 8 months, a year. And then here we are. We're back to the cycle where they're paying a mortgage, they're paying a rental, and their project has stopped.
Just let me ask you, because I wouldn't know the answer to this question. If someone paid an illicit contractor, they don't get that money back to work with while those charges are in progress, right?
The rules, the state rules are so in favor of a contractor, it's ridiculous. But see, the state has a lot of leverage. If you're a contractor in the state of New Jersey, and especially if you do a lot of REM, like my contractor and I have an issue. So the REM program should basically say, we're not going to pay you anymore until you rectify the situation. See, because they can slap a lien on my property in 5 minutes, whether they're wrong or not wrong, okay? But I have no recourse.
Right.
Okay, and they squeeze me. So I'm asking the state of New Jersey to come back and squeeze them, and let's get to the table and let's rectify this. Let's get a mediator and rectify it in a way. See, there are contractors out there right now coming, sign a contractor with you, not fixing your home in a suitable manner, and just file a lien on your property, and you're screwed.
Now, one of the things, okay, I'm not contesting that point, and I'm not taking sides here, and I'm not trying to create the opposite. Oh, yeah, I'm trying to create the opposite, because over and over again, and I've been part of this, we've been telling people, do your homework, get the numbers, make sure the guy's licensed, get his registration.
Wait, in the REM program, you have to be registered. See, in the REM program, you can't use a contractor unless they're registered.
And get everything in writing.
But that's all done. I did everything right, okay? This contractor broke my granite. This contractor cut my sewer line. This contractor promised me to fix everything. This contractor put a lien on my property for more money than I even owe him. That's a problem. I should not be dealing with this. My state government should be dealing with this. So I fully understand that Senator Hofzetzel and Senator Glenn are going to be working on this, and I know they are, and they're going to rectify this. But what I want is the head of the DCA to come and meet with our group and tell us what he's going to do and feel what our members are doing. John Ungrady should not be waiting 3 years for justice. I should not be screaming and calling everybody. I've spoken to every investigator at the Department of Community Affairs, okay? And the only time they got back to me is after Senator Hopsteffel's office called them, and then somebody called me back. That is shameful.
It's Townsquare tonight, and with us in the Townsquare are George Casimos of Stop Being the Now and Joe Mangino of the New Jersey Organizing Project. What is your Sandy story? Where are you now? Where do you expect to be? Where would you like to be? Give us a call. Give us your situation. It's 732-505-1160. We're going to continue this we're going to go past the normal half-hour closing time. We're going to go all the way till 8 o'clock with this. So by all means, stop what you're doing, get to the phone, give us a call, let us know your story too, because these two men are instrumental in changing things and in making the gears turn. 732-505-1160. We'll look for your call. We'll be right back.
This is Marianne Levy, News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310, broadcast from the Preferred Home Healthcare Studio. Since 1987, Preferred has offered the highest degree of care. Preferred Home Healthcare with feeling.
The Jersey Shore's news leader. Listen online at WOBMAM.com, on the Radio Pup app for smartphones and tablets, and on air at 1160 and 1310.
News Talk Radio, WOBM.
Clouds will move in tonight with a low eventually dropping down to 38, and then a front is going to produce some showers into the afternoon on Thursday. It will be windy at times with a high near 56. The wet weather sticks around tomorrow night with showers and an occasional thunderstorm. The low will eventually drop down to 48. As the front exits on Friday, clearing will take place. It will be windy with a high near 55. Then a warmer weekend, a mix of clouds and sunshine Saturday and Sunday with a slight chance for a shower and highs in the mid-60s. I'm meteorologist Jeff Marr.
News Talk Radio, WOBM.
Tired of increasing insurance rates? Insurance companies are constantly changing their rates and guidelines. As an independent agency, the John Hill Agency has access to many insurance companies, not just one. And we continuously shop for the best rate for our customers so we can guarantee you the best rate available. We also offer many discounts, like package discounts for home and auto, safe driving discounts, and senior discounts. You'll always have the best rate with the John Hill Agency Best Rate Guarantee. So visit johnhillagency.com.
Now, back to Townsquare Tonight on WOBM-AM 1160, 1310, and WOBMAM.com.
Welcome back. Tom Mongelli, Townsquare Tonight. And in the Townsquare with us is George Casimos of Stop FEMA Now, and Joe Mangino of the New Jersey Organizing Project. We're discussing matters 4 years down the road since Sandy. We have a caller who would like to share some of that with us. Okay, Mark, let's bring him in. Welcome to Townsquare Tonight. Thank you for calling. And what's your name, please?
John O'Grady.
John, we've been talking about you. Were your ears burning?
Yeah, I heard you. Yeah, I heard George talking about me.
Okay. John, tell us in your own words, what has transpired for you?
We didn't lose rent money. We had insurance money, and we gave it to this contractor, and we found out too late that he had a very long and disturbing criminal record. Unfortunately, the state of New Jersey does not fingerprint these people. And this guy took our money, claiming he would rebuild our house. The only problem was he had no builder's license. That's theft by deception.
Here, if I can interject, John, John, in the middle of nowhere, actually I'm working on my house, comes to my house, pulls up to my driveway with a stack of paper about this big, and he goes, "This is the contractor, and the state of New Jersey gave him a license, and he's got a record, they didn't fingerprint him, and he's got all these issues, and he's a Vietnam vet." You're a Vietnam vet, Joe? John?
Yes, I am. John.
John. John's a Vietnam vet, straight guy, and he lost $150,000. Was it 3 years ago, John?
I lost $95,000. It was flood insurance money, George.
$95,000 of flood insurance money. And when did you lose it, John? 3 years ago?
3.5 years ago.
3.5 years ago. Now, who did you complain to? Who did you file complaints with?
We called the governor. We sent letters to the governor. He sent it on to New Jersey Consumer Affairs.
And what
I'm sure they
now
have.
you sent the letter to the governor, and you got the Consumer Affairs. And what did Department of Consumer Affairs do for you 3.5 years ago to today?
The one guy at Consumer Affairs told me he's going to send this guy, this contractor, a letter, certified letter, demanding our money back.
Okay.
2 weeks later, I called up asking for a copy of this letter. He said, "Oh, sorry, we can't help you." He said, because this guy said he was a home builder, and we only take care of home improvement contractors, so we can't help you. So he gave us to...
so you were completely shut out of this because of the category in which he was classified?
That's ridiculous, isn't it? They pushed
John,
us off.
let me just ask you, what was the giveaway? What was it that led you to think that this guy was legit?
We met him at the Tom's River. We were asking about how we had to put our house, and he was there. He was getting permits there, and he came here. See, on the home improvement contract, on the home improvement application, when they fill out the home improvement application, they're asked on page 5, "Do you have a criminal record?" This guy put no. Who the hell's going to put yes? All right.
Right.
So I mean, they don't even fingerprint these people. This guy has a record. We found out later on, like you would not believe. I mean, I could tell you stuff you wouldn't believe about this guy. He goes from state to state to state, taking people's money, makes a deal with the prosecutors. They give him a slap on the wrist, and he goes on to somebody else, robs somebody else.
Is he licensed and registered in this state?
Yes.
Yeah,
Look, this
yes.
contractor is licensed and registered in the state, and I know 5 people personally that have been affected by the same contractor, and the Department of Community Affairs has done nothing. And that's the problem. They've done nothing, not only with my case. My case is only 6 months.
And he's not been charged by the Attorney General's office.
Not at all. And we're talking about walking away with money 3.5 years ago, a licensed contractor, licensed by the state of New Jersey, and the head of the Department of Community Affairs is not here talking to us about this. Is quote unquote from state sources scared to come talk to our group. You know why he's scared? Because they're not doing their job. That's why.
Now, what has been the extent of your interaction with the Attorney General's office? Are they investigating him?
The prosecutor's office, as the Ocean County prosecutor, there are 13 victims now from this guy. 13 victims.
It's in the prosecutor's office, not the AG's office.
No, this should have been stopped 3.5 years ago. We knew our money was gone. We knew that, but we tried to help other people, from getting ripped off. They don't care. Somebody's getting paid off here. They got to be. They got to be finding these people and getting a cut of the action. Something is wrong with this state. I'm telling you, I'm really pissed off.
Now,
Pardon my language.
how are you managing now?
Pretty good. We actually went to Community Affairs, and they gave us a grant, and then we had to get, for the rest of it, we had to take out a loan at the bank for $225,000. So we got a mortgage again, and we're retired. My wife and I are retired. My wife has MS, and I have severe PTSD. So but we're doing okay.
Have you had to go out and find a part-time job? Have you had to go back to work?
No, I can't work. I'm just too...
Hey, John, you're a gentleman, and thank you very much. I told you I won't forget about you, brother.
John, I appreciate you calling.
Yeah, thank you.
John's just one story. There are thousands and thousands of them.
I hear him every day, and that's what gets me going. You cannot leave our veterans and our American citizens and our state government now. Forget about FEMA. Our state government is not doing anything to protect the people. I mean, when somebody walks away with $90,000, that's a big problem.
And that's something else that I want to bring up with the both of you, because setting the problems with the federal bureaucracy aside, I saw a second obstacle on the state level. And I'm just wondering how it hit you, because once it got to DCA, once it got past HUD and down to the state level, then I saw a whole second layer of basically slowdown before anything could get down to the ground level.
Are we talking about the REM program?
We're talking about all of those programs.
Go ahead, Joe.
I don't even know where to begin. You say layers, and that's what it is. It's layers upon layers upon layers.
There's going to be another one of those workshops that DCA runs.
Right.
Up in Monmouth County, and that's going to be the next one. And they've had 39 of them. I don't know what they've accomplished in all.
Well, see, that's the problem, is there's a lot of big issues. But here's what I will tell you. We had a meeting, and we had REM down here. And this is the same meeting I went with the DCA. And I will tell you, look, the REM still has its issues. A lot of them are federal, and the federal archaic rules and that we have to abide by. But I will tell you, I deal with Sam, and I'm saying his name wrong, and I apologize. Viavatni from REM. And I think, especially compared to the New York Rising and Build It Back. Do you know how much it costs to raise a home and build it back? $1 million. $1 million. And they've only raised a handful of homes. So, I mean, look, our program is not perfect. Our REM program is not perfect, and it had a rough start. But I feel that it's significantly better than the other ones. And our program has to get better, but it's moving along a little bit. And look, it's got to get better. But at least Sam is listening, and the REM is listening, and they're doing things. We asked them for it's called the ECR, estimated cost of repair, so we know what we can be spending on certain items, and he provided it for us. And he tells us where there's a problem, and they're trying to get better, and we appreciate it. Look, I talk with Sam all the time, and he's trying, and he's communicating. The Department of Community Affairs is not communicating.
Townsquare tonight is where you are with George Casimos and Joe Mangino. And we're going to step out for a second for one more break, and then we're going to go right to the top of the hour. So call in and let us know what your story is, too. We're marking 4 years since Sandy tonight. It's 732-505-1160. Stick and stay. We'll be right back.
When I listen to Audible, I'm not cooking dinner for one. I'm on horseback, galloping across the Scottish moors towards my one true love. There, through the mist, I see my beloved, kilt flapping in the breeze. The fibers of his shirt struggle against his bulging muscles as he takes me from my horse and... my frittata!
Go to audible.com/act now, and your first download is free. Audible. Stories that surround you.
Are your federal student loans making life miserable? You may qualify to have your entire student loan forgiven with one free call. That's right. If you're a teacher, nurse, police officer, firefighter, or work for a nonprofit, then you may qualify to have your entire student loan forgiven. The Student Loan Pros want to give you free information on all the student loan programs that can help. And the sooner you call, the faster they can help. Get the maximum forgiveness, loan reduction, or consolidation available. Plus, find out in the first free call what you qualify for. Loan forgiveness specialists are standing by to answer all of your questions for free. Don't pay another penny in student loans until you call. If you have more than $10,000 in federal student loans, this free information could change your life. Call 800-226-0017. Find out how to wipe out your federal student loan debt. Call now. 800-226-0017. That's 800-226-0017.
Hiring people is probably the worst part of my job. It's such a hassle, the searching, the sorting through resumes. Most people don't have the right experience.
We started using ZipRecruiter about 3 months ago. Right from the start, you could tell it was going to make hiring a lot easier. One click and my job was posted to 100+ job boards, all the top sites.
All of the candidates came to my dashboard, and it's easy to compare them. Thumbs up if I like them, thumbs down if I didn't. No emails and attachments, printing up docs, phone calls, none of that.
And I couldn't believe the number of great applicants we got. I had the person we needed within 1 week. I don't know how we hired before ZipRecruiter.
Whether you're looking to fill one position or 20, find the best candidates with ZipRecruiter, where your job is just one click away from 100+ job sites. ZipRecruiter, the fastest way to hire. And right now you can try ZipRecruiter free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/new job. That's ZipRecruiter.com/new job. ZipRecruiter.com.
You owe over $10,000 in back taxes. You've called every tax firm out there. They all say the same thing, making promises they never keep. And you're sick of it. What you really need is a new start on your back taxes. If you're faced with garnishments, levies, audits, or years of unfiled tax returns, we'll fight to get you the new start you deserve. Call 1-800-312-9970. Our New Start program could stop collection efforts, remove any liens the IRS has in place, and help you reduce your back taxes by as much as 80%. That's right, 80%. Don't wait until another tax season ends and another year of penalties and interest are added to your balance. If you owe at least $10,000 to the IRS and need a new start on your back taxes, call 1-800-312-9970. That's 1-800-312-9970. Let the professionals at Coast One Financial Group fight to get you the new start you deserve. Again, that's 1-800-312-9970.
If you run a business in need of financing or a not-for-profit organization seeking capital to expand your services, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority can help. The NJEDA can assist you with access to capital, including tax-exempt bond financing, loans, loan guarantees, business and tax incentives, and networking opportunities with the investment community. Ask your business banker about NJEDA or visit njeda.com. This message is sponsored by the NJEDA, the New Jersey Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Be a part of the conversation. Call now, 732-505-1160. Townsquare Tonight. News Talk Radio WOBM-AM 1160, 1310, and WOBMAM.com.
4 years since Superstorm Sandy. Where are we? That's the discussion tonight. In the Town Square with us, Joe Mangino of the New Jersey Organizing Project and George Casimos of Stop FEMA Now. Joe, you mentioned that tomorrow, in front of the Assembly Committee, one of the things you're going to be discussing is the ramifications of everything that's happened. You're going to be discussing where people are now. One of the things that you are discussing is preparation for the next disaster. So obviously you've been thinking about that. And my question, I'll open it up to both of you, is at what point do we start thinking that we cannot build that close to the ocean? When do we start thinking we have to pull back? What does that do? Because I know that part of the reason it's all out there is because of the tax rateables and the real estate values. And that's part of what props up the whole county. But how long can you keep that up?
We should have been thinking about this 10, 15 years ago, unfortunately. We're not. And coastal tourism is a $15 billion industry in New Jersey. It's a lot of money, so we can't just walk away. However, what we're doing now is a Band-Aid approach. Dune replenishment. Sure, that works, but what are we doing about bayside flooding? Nothing. Mm-hmm. People are raising our homes, which is fantastic, but what are we doing about the infrastructure? There is no plan. New Jersey has no plan to deal with sea level rise or climate change. So when you're not even allowed to say the words climate change in Trenton, how do you expect anything to get done? And it's not getting done, and we're going to suffer. Families like mine that are invested in our community, that mitigated our property by raising our home, they're taking all these steps because we want to be here, and the state is providing no oversight, no guidance. There is no strategy. We are doomed.
I've sensed a kind of myopic view about what actually constitutes the shore, because nobody does bring up the bay flooding.
Right.
And now what would be a solution for that?
Well, I just got off the phone today with Senator Menendez's office, and one thing I've been blowing up, and again, we'll put it on stopfemanow.com, is there's only 3 ways for the water to get in, obviously unless we have a breach. But let's assume we get the dunes, okay? If we have the dunes, the only 3 ways you can get water in is Barnegat Light, Manasquan, and Egg Harbor Inlet.
Right.
And what we've proposed, what I've been pounding on for the last couple of years, and I think slowly but surely we're going to work on trying to get funding with Senator Menendez and Congressman MacArthur, is we can be in a bathtub. Everybody in the Barnegat Bay Basin, there's 225,000 people, 250,000 people almost, that live in the Barnegat Bay Basin. We will never have to worry about flooding if we have a dune system and we put in sea gates. They did it in New Orleans. They spent $20 billion refortifying New Orleans. All we're asking for, it's about $500 million.
And just explain sea gates, because not everybody gets what that is.
So when there's a storm, it just pops up.
It pops up.
And water can't come into the bay. And we're good, and we're protected. Between the dunes and 3 sea gates, we're done. We don't even have to worry about it. And what would happen is FEMA would have to come back, redo our maps because we have additional protection, lower our BFEs, which will lower our flood insurance premiums, and we're all saving tons of money. It'll repay itself off in like 3 or 4 years. This is a no-brainer. And these are things, like Joe said, raise your house and fortify ourselves and everything. But you're right.
What is the argument you've gotten against sea gates? I mean, I've never seen one here, and I don't know that. Is that an environmental issue, or how many?
It's not. The only time it comes, I don't think there is any issue. The only time they go down on the ocean floor or the bay floor, and they only pop. They fill them up with air, and they come up during a storm for a day or a couple hours, and then when the tide goes back out, it goes back down. I mean, there might be 5 clams under these things, but other than that, I mean, there really isn't much. I mean,
how are they anchored down there?
They just, I don't know. I mean, I'm not the engineer, but they've had shows on them, and they're doing them in Italy, and what's that town?
They got them in Holland.
And see, here's the other thing that President Obama says we're going to have global warming and sea level rise. I'm not the expert, but if there is, then we have to do what Holland does. Holland spends 5% of their GDP on mitigation efforts. So if we're going to say we're going to have global warming of 3 feet, well, you better dig in your pocket and start giving communities across the country money to fortify their communities.
And that's the problem with New Jersey. New Jersey is the only state that borders an ocean that has no plan to deal with climate change. So we are already behind the 8 ball.
Now, have you brought this up? You bring this up tomorrow?
Yes, actually, that will be part of it, and we've already discussed some of these with our congressman, with Pallone, with MacArthur, because related to this is the reauthorization of flood insurance, and down the road we would like to see something where we have some funding to mitigate prior to a disaster, so these people can be prepared, and we're not reacting after a storm hits.
For every dollar you spend on mitigation, it's like spending $4 after a storm. So you know what I'm saying? So spend so it's a no-brainer.
It's an ounce of prevention. It's common sense.
But it's our government, our federal government doesn't really believe in that common sense. That's our problem.
Right. There are a lot of gears that turn in that particular clock, and we could probably talk all night about and draw our own theories up. But let's talk about something concrete here. You mentioned the Dune project. It's not set in stone. Margate's still in court. Bayhead is still fighting it. Mantaloking doesn't need it. Brick has a wall that keeps getting exposed every time there's a storm. So is there any rationale to a 127-mile dune and berm project? And if there isn't, what are our odds of getting through another disaster?
The dunes are only going to protect velocity damage, waves coming over. It's not going to do it, as we mentioned before, it's not going to do anything for bayside flooding. It's really going to protect your oceanfront homes and those closest to the beach. There is, the walls are not very effective. They increase erosion at alarming rates. And we've seen some of the replenishment projects, particularly down at the south end of Long Beach Island in Holgate, where in a matter of weeks, all that sand was swept away and is no longer there. And now the Army Corps is going to have to come back in and replenish again. And we're going to replenish and replenish and replenish. And we're destroying what people are coming to the beach for. They're coming to play on the sandbars. We're losing all of that, which is what people want to do.
We're going to go to the phones right now and welcome in another guest. Welcome to Townsquare tonight. Thank you for calling. What's your first name?
Hey, it's Paul Jeffrey. How are you, Tom?
Hello, Paul. Thank you for calling in. How is everything in Ortley?
Things are good, and I'm going to be with Joe tomorrow in Trenton. And, of course, George and I have worked a lot together. So I just wanted to come back and talk about what else we should be doing. You were talking about how can we prepare for future storms, and one of the other frustrations I run into is, for example, the surf club property in Ortley Beach. It's a piece of property that's now demolished, and we could try and find funding, and we tried to try and find funding to be able to buy that and say, you know what, don't build there again. It doesn't make sense to build what's approved now, 16 new condominiums on the beach, because they're going to get washed away in future storms. But we've been to Toms River, we've been to Ocean County, we've been to the state, and everybody says there's no money for that. So, that's part of the frustration we run into, is that no one really wants to take responsibility when we have the opportunity to buy this property, which we should, and say, you know what, we shouldn't build there anymore. It's very frustrating.
Point well taken, Paul. Anything else?
One of our points tomorrow in the testimony as well.
You're going to?
Yes, I'll be there as well. I'm actually going to be talking about the progress we made. I may be one of the only people saying something positive about the fact that the dune and beach replenishment project here in Northern Ocean County should be receiving the bids from the contractors this week and may actually get started within the next 3 months, which would be a great thing. So I may be one of the only people giving some testimony about one thing positive, which happened because the community at the local level and Toms River at the municipal level and the state and the federal government with the U.S. Army Corps all collaborated to get the people to sign the easement to get this thing going.
Hey, Paul, I want to thank you, and I think all Joe's group and my group, we all want to thank you for really leading the push on the dune issue. And, we have so many other distractions, but getting the dunes built and you pushing that issue is going to protect us from all future storms. And I personally thank you. I know how much work you and everybody at the Ortley Beach Voters Taxpayer Association has done and continues to do, not just you, but the whole board and all the members. I remember going out to Trenton and making some noise there. I had a good time.
Paul, good job at the helm. I want to thank you for calling.
All right, thanks. But it's only a partial solution, so we need to do more. We'll talk about that tomorrow with the State Assembly and Joe and I and all the others.
All right, let us know what happens when you get back, all right?
All right, thank you, Tom.
Thank you, sir. One more call, and we have just enough time for it. Thank you for calling. Welcome to Townsquare tonight. What's your first name?
Hi, Tom. This is Congressman Tom MacArthur.
Congressman, your ears were burning, too. We had you on we were talking about you a little while ago, and you were the first guy to step up and demand that Craig Fugate resign. And we want to thank you for the work you've done in support of people here.
How are you, Congressman? It's George Casimos.
George, how are you? Good to hear your voice.
Nice, always nice to hear your voice.
Are you there in the studio tonight?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm sorry I'm having to dial in, but I'm at the other end of the district right now.
Not a problem. We know you support our cause.
Well, I certainly do. Here we come on 4 years now, and I think about the hundreds, even thousands of people that are still not getting a fair shake. And that's one of my highest priorities, just to try to get people back home. And as we look at the reauthorization of the flood program next year, I want to make sure that this program is reformed and there's better accountability, that they can never do this kind of thing again.
Congressman, one of the issues that came up was the foot dragging at FEMA and the recalcitrance of all of the insurers involved. You've been in that insurance business. That was your career. Did it strike you as hard as it struck people who were on the receiving end of that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last thing you said, Tom.
Were you as shocked as everybody else was over the revelations that were coming out about the insurers and all of the?
Well, I'm still shocked. Look, there's always bad actors in any industry, and I'm sure there are some companies that didn't do the right thing just because that's the way they do business. I think what has shocked me, though, is when it comes to the flood claims in particular, those dollars are 100% reinsured by the flood program. And so no individual company has any incentive to underpay claims. And when I see engineers writing one thing on an inspection and then sending the insured something else, or when I see an adjuster writing that a furnace was damaged by flood, but the insured got something saying not damaged by flood, I don't understand why anyone would have an incentive to do that unless they were directed to do it. And so I have tried to get hearings. Unfortunately, there are so many things going on in the federal government. The Government Oversight Committee is backed up for probably the next year and a half with hearings already. And so my intention is to use the reauthorization of the flood program, and I intend to be at the table, and that will be my opportunity when people are under oath to explore and really get into why did these companies do it? Did you direct them out of the flood program to suppress claim payments? Did you tell adjusters to bring in claims within a certain range? Because there has to be accountability. And Tom, you mentioned at the beginning that I've called for Craig Fugate's resignation. It's not because I just want a head. It's because there has to be accountability. And how can you hold the people managing these claims accountable when their boss isn't accountable? And that's what bothers me so much about the way FEMA has managed this. There's been no accountability that I can see.
Congressman, thank you very much for calling in, and thank you for sharing those thoughts with us. And keep up the good work, all right?
I certainly will. I will keep fighting every day for our people in South Jersey.
Keep punching. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thanks, Congressman.
George, take
All right,
care.
bye-bye
Thank
now.
you.
George Casimos and Joe Mangino, our guests tonight, and hopefully we won't have to have this next year, but just in case, you're invited back.
Thank
you for sharing the hour with us tonight. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening, and thank you for calling. Townsquare Tonight is a presentation of Townsquare Media, New Jersey's Shore News Division. Technical coordination and call facilitation by Mark Anthony. Video and audio coordination by Bradley James and Tom Tremblay. Programming consultant is Steve Arlina, and the Vice President of News Operations for Townsquare Media, New Jersey is Eric Scott. My name is Tom Mangelli. Thank you for listening.
This has been Townsquare Tonight, a presentation of WOBM News. To find out more about tonight's show and stay up to date on everything happening in your hometown, log on to WOBMAM.com. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. WOBM Lakewood Township, WADB Asbury Park. Live from the Preferred Home Healthcare Studio, News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310.
Get ready for a little rain Thursday. Tom Mangelli, WOBM News. A priest wanted on pornography charges in Pennsylvania is cornered in Toms River. Kevin Gugliata of Mawa was assigned to a church in Union and reportedly had an apartment in Lehigh, PA, where investigators traced multiple uploads back in July. Homes have sold briskly in New Jersey for the past 2 years, but the prices are rising slowly. Jeffrey Otto